Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a massive shift in artificial intelligence. We're going to look at exactly how Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or RAG for short, is completely transforming AI from, frankly, a risky experiment into a highly strategic, autonomous business asset. So if you're trying to figure out how to safely and effectively deploy generative AI in your organization, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's get into it.
To keep things crisp for our executive audience today, we're using the CLEAR method to guide our analysis. We'll be hitting 5 key areas. 1. Context, the hallucination problem. 2. Limits, why naive RAG fails. 3. Examples, agentic RAG in action. 4. Action, strategies for implementation. And 5. Result, delivering business ROI.
All right, part 1, context, the hallucination problem.
$100 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. That is the actual cost of a single AI hallucination. You see, standard large language models are essentially taking a closed-book test. When they don't actually know an answer, they just kind of guess. A really famous example is when Google's AI made a factual error during a live demo, which contributed to a massive drop in their stock value. Literally $100 billion wiped out. So the financial risk of inaccurate AI, it's incredibly real.
So how do we fix this? Well, we switch the AI over to an open book test using RAG. Retrieval-Augmented Generation essentially forces the AI to look up your proprietary authoritative company data, think internal PDFs, secure databases, or quarterly reports, before it's even allowed to generate an answer. It grounds the AI squarely in your factual reality.
Moving right along to part 2, limits, why naive RAG fails.
Now take a look at what we call naive RAG. Notice how it's just a simple straight-line pipeline. It chunks up your documents, runs a single search query, pulls out a few paragraphs, and just feeds them straight to the LLM. And hey, it works totally fine for retrieving a simple fact. But what happens when a business leader asks a really complex, strategic question?
Well, here is where it gets fascinating. Naive RAG totally breaks down because it lacks the ability to actually reason. To fix that, we need a shift to modular or advanced RAG systems. These systems don't just blindly pull data. Instead, they dynamically route queries, they expand a single question into multiple subquestions, and they even self-correct if the first batch of data they find just isn't up to par. It's a total game changer.
Which brings us to part 3, examples, agentic RAG in action.
Okay, imagine giving your AI this exact prompt. A standard RAG system can easily tell you the Q3 revenue, but it completely fails at the rest. Why? Because this prompt requires looking at financial databases, comparing quarters, finding a specific product line, and then searching a completely different text database for marketing reports just to synthesize the why. But agentic RAG, it handles this beautifully.
It achieves this by essentially acting as an autonomous knowledge worker. First, it looks at your goal, creates a plan, and decomposes the problem into smaller pieces. Then it retrieves data iteratively, meaning, hey, if it doesn't find that marketing report right away, it tries a new search term. It can even tap into external tools and APIs, like doing a live CRM lookup, all before it finally synthesizes that comprehensive, executive-level response for you.
Let's get practical with part 4, action, strategies for implementation.
You see, the entire foundation of an autonomous agent is the data it's fed. You absolutely need a highly robust retrieval pipeline. This hybrid search model is a perfect example of that. It intelligently merges traditional keyword search with semantic search, which actually understands the contextual meaning of your query. By bringing both of those together, you ensure your agent never misses the critical context.
To actually make this work under the hood, your technical teams need to deploy some very specific tactics. They should be using adaptive document chunking, which means grouping data by logical sections rather than just arbitrary word counts, which totally destroys context. Combine that with multi-stage re-ranking, and they'll surface the absolute highest quality data to the very top before the AI ever even sees it.
But as a business leader, you've got to balance the trade-offs here. Yes, agentic RAG is incredibly accurate because it makes multiple iterative API calls to literally think through a problem. But that naturally introduces higher latency. It's going to take a little longer to answer, and it costs more per query. You also have to factor in the infrastructure complexity of setting up things like vector databases. It's a balancing act for sure.
And that brings us to our final section, part 5, result, delivering business ROI.
Look, the biggest risk with an autonomous AI agent is, well, exactly that. It acts autonomously.
Because these agents can execute actions and access cross-departmental information, absolute security is just non-negotiable. If an employee doesn't have clearance for Q4 payroll data, the AI assisting them shouldn't have it either, period. Establishing strict data governance and comprehensive audit trails is exactly how you secure your ROI.
So let's break down your actionable executive takeaways. First, invest heavily in your underlying data quality. Your AI is only ever going to be as good as the data it retrieves. Second, make sure to align your agentic RAG architecture directly with specific business goals, like automating customer support or accelerating your financial analysis. And finally, always establish human-in-the-loop oversight for any high-stakes actions.
We've seen how agentic RAG scales from solving those million-dollar hallucination problems all the way to acting as a highly capable autonomous enterprise analyst. The strategic advantage here is absolutely massive, which leaves us with one vital question that you really need to be asking your IT teams today. Is your enterprise data architecture actually ready for autonomous agents? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it brings some real clarity to your AI initiatives.